What would you do if the HOA tried to steal your farm? For Max Aldridge, that question ignited a firestorm of emotions. The land beneath his feet was more than just dirt and crops. It was a legacy spanning generations. His father had tilled it, his grandfather had nurtured it, and his great-grandfather had fought to keep it from the developer's grasp. As he stood on the edge of his fields one early morning, fists clenched in frustration, all those memories flooded his mind. Max had always cherished the simple, serene existence that life on the farm offered. The rhythms of the seasons and the melody of nature provided a comforting backdrop to his days. But that peace shattered when the HOA's letter arrived like a sword poised to strike. Accusing him of violating zoning laws, it claimed that he was running an unauthorized agricultural operation due to some trivial misinterpretation of regulations. They warned him to cease all operations immediately or face crippling fines. In their relentless pursuit of profit, they were willing to bulldoze over his dreams and home. "They can't take this from me," he shouted into the clear morning air, his voice echoing among the corn stalks. The birds fell silent as if even they sensed the gravity of his words. Not without a fight. Storming into the weathered farmhouse, he passed by the faded photograph that lined the walls. Each picture held smiles, sun-soaked days spent harvesting, and laughter woven into the fabric of his family's history. Memories that would not fade to shadows without a struggle. With determination coursing through his veins, he grabbed his phone and dialed his cousin, Tom, who lived just a few miles away. "Tom," his voice cracked with desperation, "you won't believe what the HOA is trying to do." Just 30 minutes later, Tom arrived, bursting through the door with the energy of a whirlwind. "So, they've finally shown their true colors," he exclaimed, shaking his head as he rifled through the stack of papers Max had spread across the kitchen table. "What's the plan?" Max paced the kitchen, the smell of strong coffee filling the air, a bitter contrast to his brewing anger. "We need to gather support from the community. I can't fight this fight alone. If we stand together, we can stop them. Let's do it." Tom's enthusiasm was contagious, replacing the heaviness that weighed on Max's heart. They began mapping out their strategy, brainstorming ways to rally the neighbors. Over the next few days, Max couldn't shake the heavy feeling that settled in his chest. Each night, as he lay in bed, thoughts of the HOA's threats twisted in his mind like weeds, entangling the roots of his resolve. But with renewed determination, he knew he needed to act. One sunny afternoon, armed with flyers that read *** protect our land, ***, he and Tom hit the streets, knocking on doors and engaging neighbors in conversation. Stories erupted, of gardens lost, of cherished memories tied to their land, of families who had fought similar battles before him. The community was tired of the HOA's relentless encroachments into their lives. They were ready to fight. "I won't let them take what's rightfully ours," Max proclaimed at each doorstep, a fervor igniting in his heart. Neighbors rallied, their passion illuminating the path ahead. "We need to stand together. We can't let them trample over our rights." As word spread, a community meeting was organized at the local town hall, a space that echoed with memories of camaraderie, disputes, and discussions that shaped their small town's fate. On the night of the meeting, the hall buzzed with energy, every seat filled with concerned faces of neighbors who had gathered to plot their resistance. The board members from the HOA arrived, their smug expressions betraying nothing as they took their seats at the front, unaware of the storm brewing behind them. Max felt the tension in the air, the collective breath held in anticipation. When he took the podium, his heart raced, yet he stood tall, ready to be the voice for his land, for all of them. "I stand before you not just as a farmer, but as a guardian of this legacy," he declared, locking eyes with each person in the room. "We all share this land. Each field, each home, is a piece of our history. We can't let the HOA strip us of our identities." Applause erupted around the room, igniting a spark that had long been dormant. Encouraged by the unity that pulsed through the crowd, Max felt hope reignite within him, feeding the flame of determination and planting a seed that could grow into something unstoppable. That night, as he returned home, he gazed out at the field that had been his family's for generations. The moonlight bathed the land in a gentle glow, a reminder that he was not alone in this fight. The roots of his resolve ran deep, entwined with the very essence of the land he loved. It was time to rally the community and take a stand against the encroaching darkness of the HOA. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but Max knew that as long as he held on to his heritage and stood with his neighbors, he could fight back against the tide. The battle for green pastures had only just begun, and he was ready to defend it with everything he had. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but Max knew that as long as he held on to his heritage and stood with his neighbors, he could fight back against the tide. The battle for green pastures had only just begun, and he was ready to defend it with everything he had. As dawn broke the following day, the sun poured over the fields, casting a golden hue across the corn ready for harvest. Max rose early, invigorated by the energy of the community meeting from the night before. His heart was still racing from the applause, the fervor igniting a fire within him. He was determined to make the most of this momentum. Max stepped outside, breathing in the crisp morning air, the scent of dew-kissed grass and rich soil refreshing his spirit. He had a long day ahead filled with planning, strategizing, and rallying support, and he wanted to hit the ground running. He couldn't help but smile, thinking of the commitment he felt from everyone at the meeting. They were no longer simply his neighbors. They were allies, a united front forged in a common purpose. After a quick breakfast, he called Tom. "Meet me at the barn in 30, he said, excitement bubbling in his voice. "We're doing this." Tom arrived, his energy infectious as he hopped out of his truck and grabbed a few supplies. "Working on a plan," he grinned, sliding into the barn, filled with tools and memories of their childhood. "I can't wait to see what you've cooked up." "We need to hit the streets again, but this time we're bringing more firepower. We need to create a sense of urgency, not just in the community, but out there," Max said, gesturing toward the town. "Maybe we can get everyone to share their stories about what the land means to them. We'll record them and publish them online." "Great idea," Tom replied, already jotting down notes. "It'll not only highlight the personal connection people have to their farms, but also paves the way to gain support on social media. People love heartwarming stories, especially ones anchored in real emotions." They began brainstorming a plan to gather testimonials. They would create a video campaign, highlighting the bonds each person had with their land. It would reveal how the HOA proposed overreach not only threatened their livelihoods, but also the rich tapestry of their community. Over the next few days, they went door to door again, this time with cameras in hand. They set up appointments, listening to stories about the first harvest, generations of family traditions, and the sweat and toil that had brought the community together. Max was amazed at the emotional depth these conversations revealed. Many people had tears in their eyes as they talked about what the land meant to them, some even recounting how it had been there for them in their darkest hours. Gathering these tales filled him with hope, a sense of purpose that burned brightly like the autumn sun. As they pieced together heartfelt narratives, a powerful message began to surface. Resilience, heritage, and community spirit were their greatest weapons against the HOA's encroachments. After compiling the stories into a cohesive narrative, they decided it was time to release their message to the public. They organized a community gathering in the town square, where they would play the video and encourage everyone to show up, supporting not only their cause but each other. As word spread about the gathering, anticipation filled the air. The day of the event dawned bright and clear, the sun shining down upon the gathered townsfolk. Max felt a thrill of excitement mixed with nerves. They were ready to unveil their collective strength. Standing before the crowd, Max addressed them, his heart pounding in his chest. "Thank you all for being here today. Together, we're not just fighting for our farms, we're fighting for our community, our way of life." The thunderous applause that echoed around him filled him with renewed strength. At that moment, it didn't feel like a fight against adversity. It felt like a celebration of everything they cherished. As the video played, powerful stories illuminated the screen, one after another, each voice striking a chord within the heart of the audience. Tears glistened in the eyes of children and grandparents alike as they heard the powerful testimonials of struggle, resilience, and love for the land. Each story brought them closer together, binding the community in a shared mission, amplifying their collective voice. When the final testimonial concluded, the crowd erupted into cheers, their spirits lifted. Encouraged by this outpouring of emotion, Max called for action. "Now, let's head to the town hall. We'll bring this energy with us and show the HOA that we will not stand down." Students, families, farmers, and friends stood together, a sea of determined faces marching toward the town hall. With each step, camaraderie flourished. They embraced the hope and strength pulsating through their community. As they approached the town hall, they saw members of the HOA already seated inside, their expressions tight with concern as they witnessed the gathering crowd. Max felt a surge of confidence. He was not alone, and neither were the people standing with him. In that moment, as they prepared to confront the HOA, Max knew that whatever happened next, they would face it together. This battle was no longer just about his farm. It was a movement, a stand against those who dared to take away their shared legacy, a fight for green pastures that would reverberate through generations to come. In that moment, as they prepared to confront the HOA, Max knew that whatever happened next, they would face it together. This battle was no longer just about his farm. It was a movement, a stand against those who dared to take away their shared legacy, a fight for green pastures that would reverberate through generations to come. As they pushed through the double doors of the town hall, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. The lobby buzzed with the murmurs of friends and neighbors, eager to join the conversation, while shifty-eyed HOA members exchanged nervous glances at the sight of the crowd piling into the hall like a tidal wave. Max stepped forward, taking center stage in front of the packed room. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to have an important discussion," he declared, his voice steady and resonant amidst the low hum. "This isn't just about our farms. It's about preserving who we are as a community." As people settled into their seats, he could see the determination etched on their faces, their fears transformed into strength, driven by the stories they had shared and the memories they held dear. Today, we will stand united in our resolve to protect this land, a land rich in history and unparalleled in its importance to our way of life. The HOA president, Mr. Harris, a slick man with a carefully groomed beard and a reputation for charming crowds, stood up, attempting to regain control of the situation. "We appreciate your enthusiasm, but we are simply enforcing regulations that exist for the benefit of the community," he began, but Max could sense the thin veneer of confidence cracking beneath the weight of the emotions swirling in the room. "Regulations that strip away our rights? We are the foundation of this community." Max countered, the fervor in his voice rising. "You are not here to protect us. You are here to profit from our labor and our histories. We won't let you." Applause erupted, shaking the floor beneath them, and the other members of the HOA visibly stiffened. Max seized this moment, sensing it was crucial to rally the crowd even further. "Let us share our stories once more. We're not just names on a list. We are families, neighbors, and friends. We are the heartbeat of this town. Let's remind everyone why fighting for this land matters." One by one, people began to rise, sharing their personal connections to their farms and the land surrounding them. A local teacher spoke of growing up on her father's farm, recounting the lessons she had learned about hard work and community. A retired veteran shared how farming had provided solace and stability after his service. Even children stood up and spoke about the adventures they had in the fields, the hidden nooks where fireflies danced at twilight, and the pride they felt in helping their parents cultivate the land. With each story, a wave of emotion washed over the assembled crowd, and Max noticed how the essence of unity enveloped the room. The air buzzed with positivity and purpose, something the HOA members could hardly refute. As the testimonial began to ebb after an hour, a confident woman in her 50s, Martha Jenkins, a longtime advocate for local agriculture, stepped forth as a final speaker. "We've been keeping quiet for too long," she declared, her powerful presence filling the room with passion. "These fields are our lives. They are our families. We need to show the HOA that this community isn't just about profit. It's about legacy. It's about love." A standing ovation followed, reverberating throughout the hall, shaking the walls, and reflecting the strength of unity. The HOA members exchanged nervous whispers, their power suddenly deflated amidst the emotional tempest that had swept through the crowd. With a passion ignited between them, Max knew it was time for action. "Let's channel this energy. We need to present a petition at the next town council meeting. We have to show them how many voices stand against their injustice." Tom pressed against Max's side and shouted, "Let's make it happen." Cheers erupted. Enthusiasm electrified the air as everyone began to rise. The determination that had blossomed within their hearts was now a full-blown fire, ready to incinerate the divisions that had held them back for far too long. As they dispersed from the town hall, a sense of purpose surrounded Max like a blanket. Leaders emerged, and discussions erupted as neighbors forged plans to gather signatures. Social media blasts were drafted, and word spread like wildfire. They would create pamphlets, organize rallies, and pour their souls into this fight. Weeks passed, and the community became a flurry of activity like an ant colony uncovering hidden treasure. Max and Tom worked late into the night, compiling and sending out newsletters, gathering more testimonials, and reminding everyone of their purpose. As the next town council meeting approached, they compiled all the messages and stories into a comprehensive petition, a book of love for the land that held everyone together. Each page was filled with a testament to the love and labor that had cultivated their community into the thriving organism it was today. On the night before the meeting, Max gathered his close friends and supporters at his farmhouse for a final review. The atmosphere hummed with camaraderie, laying plans for the next day's showdown. "Remember, this is about our families, our stories," he reminded them, looking each person in the eye. "We make them listen." With every heartbeat in resonance with purpose, they raised their glasses, a collective toast promising to fight for their heritage. As evening turned to night, they felt something shift in the air, a gathering storm, a sense of inevitable change. The tide was turning, and they were ready to face whatever came at dawn. The sun would rise on a new day, but this time it would shine brighter against the backdrop of the community's resilience, with every heart beating as one, ready to defend their fields, their homes, and the future they dared to dream. The atmosphere buzzed within the council chamber, a palpable tension hanging in the air as the crowd, an amalgamation of families, friends, farmers, and advocates, awaited the council's verdict. Max faced the council members, each of whom seemed to wear a mask of indifference, yet he could feel the shift in the energy of the room as the echoes of their stories lingered like an urgent call. As the secretary read the results aloud, the words felt as heavy as lead, each syllable vibrating through Max like a drum. The motion to review the HOA proposals as he hesitated, and in that pause it felt as though time itself had stopped, failed. Gasps rippled across the audience, like a gust of wind disturbing the stillness of dawn. Dismay flickered in the eyes of Max's friends. The HOA members shot victorious glances at one another, and a small but smug smirk crept onto Mr. Harris's lips. But Max refused to back down. He felt the fire of determination surge within him. He stepped forward again, urgency blazing in his voice. "This fight is far from over. Just because one door has closed does not mean we shall retreat. Our spirits are not so easily extinguished." He turned to the crowd, a new wave of resolve swelling within him. "Look around. Look at the faces of everyone here who believes in our land, our families, our future. This isn't merely about the regulations imposed by the HOA. It's about our right to thrive as a community." "Yeah!" shouted Tom, echoing Max's fervor. Others joined in, their voices bolstering the momentum of defiance. "Today may not have brought us victory, but we have united in a way none of us anticipated," Max continued. "We have weathered storms, both literal and figurative, and today we can see that our fight is impactful. We will gather again, stronger than before, and draw up a plan that they can't ignore." With the crowd galvanized, voices grew louder, echoing through the chamber. Max stepped away from the podium and approached the council members, his eyes locked onto Mr. Harris. "Do not mistake our unity for weakness. You may have silenced our plea today, but we will rise again. Tomorrow we regroup, and we will not go away." The murmurs from the audience crystallized into a singular cry of resolve, affirming their commitment to each other and their land. "We are a community," someone shouted from the back, and a collective agreement ignited like a wildfire. They began chanting, "Our land, our voices, our future." The energy in the room shifted, and the council members glanced at one another, uncertain. Suddenly, it became clear to Max that even in their defeat, they were rewriting the narrative. He could sense the shift. The HOA members were not as untouchable as they had once seemed. "Let's channel our disappointment into action," Max exclaimed, the rhythm of his heartbeat driving his words. "This community is a living entity, and it won't be quashed. We will organize community forums, gather support from neighboring towns, and amplify our voices until they can't ignore us. We will create a grassroots movement so powerful that they cannot deny us our rights." Yes! The crowd roared in unison, energized by the call to action. Each person felt the embers of hope rekindle within them, blurring the lines between individual struggles and a unified purpose. In the weeks that followed, Max led the charge. They organized rallies, hosted cookouts, and invited the community to share their stories. They documented their journey, laying bare the passion and heart that fueled their fight. Social media blasted the #HashStandWithMax into the ether, gathering not only local support but also attention from regional news outlets. One evening, as the sun dipped beneath the horizon in a fiery blaze, they gathered at the farm for a huge community meeting. Chairs were set up under the great oak tree, where generations had shared laughter and lessons. People arrived with casseroles and pies, and the atmosphere buzzed with a renewed spirit of belonging. Max stood before the crowd, emotional yet galvanized. This is our family. Our strength is not just in the land, but in each other. We have stories worth sharing, lives worth living, and a future worth fighting for. One by one, local leaders and allies stepped forward to speak, testimonies of determination and resilience weaving together until the very air shimmered with aspiration. In those voices, they discovered new allies, business owners, educators, and even families from neighboring towns rallied to their cause. Months passed, and after tireless effort, the town hall called for a special session to revisit the HOA regulations. Max, flanked by supporters, stood at the forefront with renewed fervor. As he stepped onto the stage once more, he could feel the steadiness of community behind him, their breaths in unison, their dreams interwoven. The council members, aware of the growing resistance, sensed a change in the room as they hedged their bets. This time, when Max spoke, the entire chamber felt alive, shimmering with anticipation. "Today," he began, "we come not just as farmers or business owners, but as a watershed of generations, united by the spirit of love for our land. We rise not just against regulations, but for our families, for our right to cultivate the earth beneath our feet in the way we desire." With each passionate declaration, he drew from the wellspring of support that had fortified their movement. As he spoke, the weight of their shared history resonated through the chamber. Together, we will amend these regulations to protect both our community and the very essence of what it means to call this land home. We are not summations of our policies. We are a tapestry of life. When the time for voting arrived, the air grew thick with resolve. The voices that had once been silent were now a relentless tide swelling at their backs. Cheers erupted when the motion passed, an overwhelming testament to community resilience. Max fell to his knees, overcome with emotion as his friends gathered around him, enveloping him in a victorious embrace. They had reclaimed not just their land, but forged an unbreakable bond, ignited by the heart of their collective struggle. As the sun began to set behind the fields, painting the sky in rich hues of orange and purple, Max understood that this triumph extended far beyond the council chamber. They had instilled hope, ignited purpose, and secured a future rooted deeply in collaboration and unity. And so, together, they returned to their farms to sow love, nurture growth, and tend to a legacy cultivated not by the land alone, but by the indomitable spirit that connected them all, dreaming of a brighter tomorrow in a land that would always feel like home.